So I wanted to make a video with actual commentary this time. It's not another montage. And I decided to go with edgeguarding, which, if you don't know what edgeguarding is, it's you applying pressure to your opponent while they're pretty much already off stage, which hopefully leads to a kill. It's sort of like gatekeeping in Apex or PUBG for people who are already outside of the zone. You fight your opponent while they're already at a disadvantage. Why do we do this though? Aside from fighting your opponent at a disadvantage, in Brawlhalla there are no health bars. To secure a kill, you have to hit your opponent to the kill boxes located above, below, or to the sides of each map. As long as they hit the kill box, they are dead. So today I'll be covering some methods used for edgeguarding, starting with method number 4, which is the slide charge. Dash off stage while charging your signature and you will get a slide charge. This is a large commitment, however, as once you start, you cannot stop. You have to commit to it. That commitment is what makes slide charging somewhat risky, as if you miss the slide charge, it can give your opponent the opportunity to either reverse the edgeguard or just return to stage. When it connects, however, it's usually a pretty big reward. If you miss, you still get to keep all of your options. You don't use your dodge like a gravity cancel. You still have all of your jumps, and that is actually one of the advantages to doing the slide charge, being able to keep all of your options even if you miss your opponent. I will note, however, that slide charging cannot be done on every signature. Some signatures that cause you to float or stand in the air will not work with a slide charge, like Artemis Downsig, for example, on both her weapons. And if you've ever watched pro player Koslix play, then you'll notice that this is pretty much what his edgeguarding boils down to: a dash off stage with a slide charge Downsig. The next method I'll get into will be what I'll call the offstage edgeguard, for lack of a better term. But some opponents actually go off stage with you in order to take all your jumps and secure the kill. Whether it be to go for an instant ground pound or just to stay down there and take all of your recovery options, you'll notice that Scythe players and Gauntlet players like to do this a lot, as their weapons are really good off stage. If you're going to do this, I recommend being very confident in your ability to fight off stage, as it can be very easy for your opponent to turn this around in a lot of cases. Which leads me to the risks. The main one being what I just mentioned. Your opponent can turn this around sometimes very easily if you're not careful. Or sometimes you even secure the kill, but then you realize that you used all of your jumps and you cannot return to stage, so you also die. Yeah. It's pretty funny when that happens, and I imagine that every Scythe player has killed themselves at least once. Now I'll get into the main advantage of using this method. The reason people do it is it can lead to really early gimps. If you've got the read on your opponent, if you know what they're gonna do, you can pretty much take all of their jumps, take their dodge, and make sure that they die even before they're in orange. If you try out edgeguarding method number 1 and you miss your slide charge, you can usually follow up with an offstage edgeguard. As going offstage to fight someone is probably the most risky way of edgeguarding, I'll lead into edgeguard method number 2, which is the onstage edgeguard. You can still edgeguard your opponent while remaining on stage. This is probably one of the more safe methods. I do this pretty often with Spear and Lance. I hate going off stage with Lance, and it's just really fun to do with Spear, but you can do it with anything. First, I'll talk about the risks. There aren't many to this, but it's a bit harder to kill your opponent unless they're already very damaged and just require like one clean hit. And you'll have to be pretty good at baiting so that they think they can return to stage, only to be met with an attack. The main advantages of this are it's really safe, as I mentioned earlier. It's one of the more safe methods of edgeguarding, so you reduce the risk of you actually dying, or the edgeguard getting reversed, and you get some extra damage off on your opponent if they inevitably return to stage. Another advantage is you're typically able to follow up with another edgeguarding method if you're not successful in killing them with this. Sometimes I'll start out with some onstage edgeguarding, then lead into something like some offstage edgeguards, and then I'll lead into method number 1, which is weapon throws. So yeah, you can pretty much combine this with any other method of edgeguarding and it works really well. Or you could just do it by itself and it still works. The weapon throw either forces people to dodge or jump where they don't want to for the most part, or it kills them if it hits them, which is great. If you've watched my montage at all, you'll notice that it's pretty much my favorite way of edgeguarding someone. The risk in doing the weapon throw is pretty obvious. You lose your weapon, so I recommend being confident in your ability to fight unarmed, just in case the weapon doesn't spawn in time. Oh yeah, and I forgot, gadgets are included as well. If you play with gadgets on, then you can use your bombs, your mines, everything is fair game. Sometimes I'll also go for an offstage edgeguard and throw my weapon upwards, so the weapon can always protect me from above, and I can catch it if I need to. So it's sort of like two things that your opponent has to worry about, you and the weapon that might just hit them and finish them off. So yeah, basically you can combine this with another edgeguarding method to make that method more safe, like the offstage edgeguard, or you could just do it by itself, which is, it's honestly safe on its own. So in conclusion, just don't be that person that just stands there and watches their opponent return to stage. Actively try to keep them off the stage. I will also add that there's no single best method for edgeguarding. I find that combining them honestly works best, but it's all about finding the one that works for you, your playstyle, your weapon, that kind of thing. But just like everything in Brawlhalla and life, if it stops working, stop doing it. I unfortunately don't have an outro yet. I'll be working on one a bit later, but I'll just end the video here. Make sure to check out some of my other videos. My montage should be right on the screen right about now, actually. And comment below what you want to see in future videos. Leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.